Well, Elon's had some interesting business moves since our last interview. So in the middle of 2025, Elon bought back 1 billion shares worth of Tesla, which made the stock go up significantly. I own a significant amount of Tesla stock, so I'm very happy. I think it's up like 80% this year. So thank you, Elon. And then Tesla offered a $1 trillion pay package to Elon Musk.
Yes, that's right. So they don't want him to leave, you know. I mean, it would be crazy for him to leave. They owe him, they told him in 2010 or something, or 2011, that they would pay him $56 billion if he could take the value of Tesla to $1 trillion, which he did. And so they owe him $56 billion. And then some weedy judge in Delaware, who probably doesn't know whether it's day or night, said this is ridiculous to pay somebody $56 billion. So I don't know what happened to that payment. I believe they eventually came to some agreement, but certainly he has been told that they will pay him $1 trillion if he continues with Tesla.
Yeah, for those that don't know, that is 1,000 billion.
Yes, that's 1,000 billion.
That's what a trillion is, 1,000 billion. He has $1,000 billion pay package, which is
the
thing mind blowing.
It's a sort of mood thing because he doesn't take anything. He's never taken a salary at Tesla, and he puts the money back into Tesla, puts everything back into more expansion, more improvements. So it's not as though he runs off to some, shop around the corner to go and buy things or something with his $1 trillion, and he puts it straight back into the operation.
Look, I'm on my 4th Tesla at this point. I have a Model X Plaid, which is my favorite car I've ever owned. I actually have leased 2 of them in a row, the exact same car, just because I couldn't find a better car. So I love what Tesla's doing. I feel like the software, in terms of the self-driving, is just miles and years ahead of everyone else.
Yes, I spent a month in California this year, and everywhere we went at Stanford, I addressed 600 students at Stanford, and I was asked to anyway, and I did that, and we drove about in full self-driving Teslas everywhere. Everywhere we went was full self-driving. So it was but it was good because they have the new thing that if you take your eyes off the road, then the car calls your attention and says, your eyes are off the road.
Starts to beep.
Which I completely agree with. That's similar to flying an airplane. I fly, so, when you put on the autopilot on a plane, you don't take your eyes off the job that you're doing. You don't go make coffee. You sit there and watch things, and you keep your eyes out the window.
Yeah, what's actually interesting is, for example, I live in Los Angeles. We have Waymo taxis, right, which I think is a Google company, which is completely driverless taxis, where they pull up, you jump in, there's no driver, it takes you to where you need to go. But what Elon said recently, which was kind of mind-blowing, is that he said in the foreseeable future, when you're out of town or when you're asleep, if you have a self-driving Tesla, you could actually have this Tesla drive around as a self-driving taxi and make you money while you're not using it.
That's right. Like
That's
an Uber.
Crazy. So suddenly you have this huge army of Teslas that suddenly become taxis overnight and become income sources for the people.
I think,
so it's
the worry
pulls us off.
The worry is, that will the people look after it? Because every Uber I've ever got into, and that's quite a few, are always so spick and span clean, and the driver is so smart that you always sit very nicely and appreciate the Uber. But if you send a car without a driver, the people may not be so good,
Well, and here's another article that I read, which is actually very mind-blowing as well, is that recently SpaceX acquired the spectrum rights from EchoStar in a $17 billion deal, which makes SpaceX one step closer to satellite to phone connectivity, which would bypass all of the cell phone towers. So what that means, if I understand this correctly, is that in the foreseeable future, you'll be able to get rid of your AT&T or Verizon bill and get a SpaceX cell phone package, which will probably be less because it's satellites as opposed to actual physical towers.
Yes, but also
So
faster.
he's
going to
end up potentially destroying the cell phone industry with this technology.
The cell phone industry has to partner with SpaceX to try and be part of the sale of the phones, I would say. That is definitely what is going to happen. The underground cabling systems and all that are fine, but they are all going to be, sort of done away with. And, it's going to be satellite to phone. So Elon told me himself in December 2023, when I sat with him, he said, in 2025, we're going satellite to phone. That's Elon telling me. So I know about that, but that's obvious. That's the obvious thing to have, as satellite to phone.
Yeah. If he pulls that off, it's going to be a complete game changer.
They will pull it off. Yes, they will.
Yeah.
It has already been done. So in New Zealand, for example, it's all satellite. You can have satellite to phone. So they have it as a test country. New Zealand is satellite to phone. So you can buy a phone in New Zealand which is linked straight to Starlink. Yes, already.
I wish I could actually buy SpaceX stock, but unfortunately, Elon said that he never plans for SpaceX to actually go public. He wants to keep it private.
Yes. Yes, if SpaceX went public, it would probably go public at about $1.5 trillion. And so you don't want to be in a situation where your whole job is to satisfy shareholders. You need to be in a position with things like this, where if you decide you're going to expend money, which they are doing now, on a lunar program, big time, then you have to be able to be free to do that and accept the fact that you're going to have a few expenses here and there. So at the present time, they're focusing on the lunar program, which is landing starships on the moon, and also putting satellites around the moon and so forth. So that's all in progress for next year.
Okay, so what are satellites around the moon? What is that going to accomplish?
Well, it's a part of learning, because we really don't know much about the moon. There's a lot of conjecture. There's even talk that the Apollo missions were faked, as you probably know. And if you look at the actual physics of landing on the moon, it is quite a problem, because there's no atmosphere. And when you have no atmosphere, in order to remain in orbit around the moon, the minimum speed above the surface, a little bit above the surface, you have to be traveling at about 6,000 kilometers per hour, which is 3 times the speed of a rifle bullet. So if you are going around the moon at that speed in a vacuum, and you want to slow down, you need a great deal of fuel. And you also need a great deal of direction of the fuel, so that you can vector a landing, so that when you do come to a stop, you land gently. Now, various attempts have been made in the last few years, even by the Israelis, to land a satellite on the moon, and you can't do it. They crashed, and they have debris fields that are a kilometer long, because to come to a stop, remember, in order to be in orbit a few feet above the surface of the moon, you must travel at 3 times the speed of a rifle bullet. So in order to stop, you need a lot of fuel. But you also, once you start to stop, you go down. And so you need something to keep you off the surface and at the same time slow you down to a speed 0. So that when you touch down, you are 0. You can't touch down at 1 or 2 or 3 miles per hour, because you're going to break something. You can only touch down when you're going 0. And people have found that almost impossibly difficult to do. And so there are a lot of questions about the moon landing, to be honest. There are a lot of questions. How did the Eagle do it? It would need so much fuel that it would have to take with it to be able to slow down around the moon. And there's a lot of questions about that, how it possibly could have done it, if you understand. There's no atmosphere. It's like some of our restaurants. They've got no atmosphere.
Well, at this point, Elon has 14 children.
Yes,
You have 7 biological children.
yes,
So he's doubled you.
yes, thank heavens. Of course.
Right. And he has years to go also. He could possibly triple you or quadruple you at one point.
No, much more. No. But remember, you can only eat so many fillet steaks. You can't eat that much. You can only eat as much as what your body can take. So, as I said earlier, Elon is a wonderful person to have in a business because he puts everything back into the business. Doesn't take anything. Not even a salary.
Well, do you have a relationship with any of Elon's kids, your grandkids?
Yes, I do. I've met the small ones, Siobhan's too. I've met them, and they've sat with me for a few hours at a time. I've met X, or X. I call him X, and I've met all the older boys, years ago, of course, and I don't hear much from them, and for that matter, I don't hear much from the children of my daughters either, except I wish them on their birthdays, and I'm just one of the old guys in the family. I'm not part of their particular field of interest, if you know what I mean. But we have a great family, so we don't have any problems in that regard.
Well, this article in the New York Times was pretty catastrophic. It made headlines all over the world. And to your defense, you agreed to do this interview. You did not ask me to take out any questions.
No.
I was able to ask everything I wanted. Every single detail you addressed.
Sure.
So regardless if people believe you or not believe you, you have been forthcoming in this entire interview.
Thanks.
But how damaging was this article when it came out?
Well, my biggest fear is, I see Yana every day, and I bought her a house close to the schools. We got the 2 children in a school, 2 schools, and so she's able to more or less walk them to school now. So that's a very big help because I'm about 30 miles from where they are, and getting the kids to school every day, several times a day, is a big job. So anyway, no. My biggest concern was that for Yana, that she mustn't, become upset. And so she's been quite marvelous about this stuff. She just, in order to keep her sanity, she just doesn't want to talk to anybody. I don't believe she said she's not talking to anybody. And the only thing she did do was write a letter to the New York Times saying that what they are saying is false and inaccurate, wrong, or whatever she said. I can't remember. Oh, let me see what she said. She said, what Errol says is accurate. In other words, my replies to them is what she said is accurate, So that's my main concern. For myself, I went through high school with girls and boys. I mean, once you've done that, you learn about everything. Nobody's popular forever. So, you learn that today's hero is tomorrow's zero, So you just understand that, and that's life. And if it's going to get you down, then, well, I'm sorry for you.
Well, the final question is this. A lot of times when you have these big articles like this or these documentaries and so forth, it usually triggers a police investigation, criminal charges, and so forth. So with how explicit this whole New York Times article has been, has there been any police investigations, any arrests, anything else of that sort?
No. There's no reason for something like that. Absolutely, it's all fake. Everything is fake. And if you understand that it's people's efforts to get money from people they consider have an abundance of money, that's really, the short and tall of it, that's it.
So you feel that this whole thing is a ploy by various family members to try to get as much money out of Elon Musk, aka the world's richest man, into their own
Yes.
pockets
Well, I would say
by
that's
using
one of
these
the
types of
things.
situations as a backdrop.
I would call that a very prime mover. I would also say that they have a certain animus, or whatever the right word is, towards me. And so they also try to break me as a person, you know. I've had that with lots of people from high school onwards. So it's not as though it's new to me, you know. I just tell people to get in the queue. Get in the queue. You know?
Well, Errol Musk, you've answered every single question. You haven't ducked a single question. You didn't tell me ahead of time, please don't ask me X, Y, and Z. Every single thing in this article has been addressed.
Yes.
You've addressed it in detail and so forth. Now
Yes.
it's ultimately up to the people who watch this to decide who is telling the truth. But I think that this is actually going to bring a lot of context and a second side to this article, which was very big. And I'm sure it affects a lot of different people in your family, including
Yes.
yourself, Elon, all your kids, all the kids' mothers and grandkids and so forth. So I appreciate you coming in, and thank you again for this opportunity, and we'll speak again soon.
Thank you so much, man.
Absolutely. Until next time. Peace.
Okay, bye.